Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today, in which I take an individual film and then me and a special guest sit back, relax, have a conversation about this film, and we get to the nitty gritty, what we love, what we hate, what we think is just in between for that particular film. And it could be a horror film from any different genre, subgenre, or decade in which it was produced, because we kind of take a little bit of everything here, which kind of goes into our story for today and our film for today, because it's a film that by all respects may or may not belong on our podcast, but because we delve into many different types of horror films or or themed films, we're going to talk about it anyways. And that is Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance from 2011. I had to think about what year that movie was produced. And to talk about this film, I have brought back Mr. Philip Bray, who helped me have a conversation about the first Ghost Rider last year. So it's good to have you back, Philip, and we're going to talk about the sequel to the film that we talked about last year.
Thank you for having me.
So, since this is one a more modern date film, and you probably did see this or had the opportunity to see this at the theater. I do want to get your input on when you first saw this film and what were your general kind of ideals about the film.
So, generally, and I think I said this in the first episode, but I really like the Ghost Rider character. The Ghost Rider character is really cool, really cool. I really loved him. So when I saw the first Ghost Rider movie, again, I had problems with it, but I again was glad to see the Ghost Rider character in a theatrical release and stuff. And so then Spirit of Vengeance got announced, and through the concept arts and stuff, I was like, oh, Ghost Rider looks even cooler and stuff. This is gonna be awesome. And then I saw the movie, and I thought it was the best movie ever. I thought it was the movie of the year, best movie ever. No, I remember when I watched the movie. I watched the movie. I didn't get to see it in theaters. I ended up
Okay.
watching it on streaming, or not streaming. Back then it was just, on demand and stuff with my friend. And this is my one of my best friends. He's one of the people that just watch movies and likes them. I remember we watched the movie, and after the movie's done, we both walked outside and we both got on our knees and we just screamed, "What the fuck did we just watch?" And that means a lot from him saying that. The guy who never criticized the movie, even he was on his knees going, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
Is that what you want to leave? Do you want to leave with that, right?
Yes.
So, I am probably a much bigger Ghost Rider fan than you. I've read the original Marvel Comics run, a lot of the original Marvel Comics run. I was not a big fan of the Johnny Blaze era of the comic book. I'm a much bigger fan of the Danny Ketch era from the '90s. I was like one of the huge. I like collected all the special editions of the fucking the title. Every appearance the character was in. Ghost Rider character was one of my favorites. The Johnny Blaze character I liked was in the '90s version and not the version before then. And when the first movie, I think I may have said this in our previous conversation, when the first movie decided to do the kind of the early Marvel era of Johnny Blaze, I was like, ah, fuck. I'll take it. I mean, I love the character, and I really do love Nicolas Cage, so I'll take it. And I hated a lot of decisions they did with the first movie, but Nicolas Cage can sell a lot of shit for me. Even in this time period when he was doing less stellar movies, I still kind of enjoyed watching him. And so I gave it a bit of the doubt. I saw the first film several times, and when they made the second movie, I was all in as well. But I was still like, okay. But I didn't know who Idris Elba was, so that was a good thing for me. And for the most part, the Ghost Rider itself has always looked amazing. Both films, I like the look of Ghost Rider. I'm not really cared for most of the characters for the villain characters that they put in the movie, but for Ghost Rider itself, they spent a lot of time perfecting that, and I think both films did a really good job with that. So I went to go see the movie, and like you and probably a lot of people, I walked out of the movie with the my jaw dropped and me saying, "What the fuck did I just? What atrocity did I just witness on the big screen?" Um, I knew going in from watching the trailer when I saw Ghost Rider pissing fire. I should have known better. I should have known better, but I went to go see it anyways. And I had to look it up, and I did in fact see this in 3D when it came out because
You
yes,
got that 3D hot piss.
oh my God, dude. Yeah, I had to look it up just now and remember because I keep track of the movies I've seen for like the last 2 decades probably. But the thing was, I saw the movie. I thought it was god awful. Um, and I couldn't get past some of like I couldn't get past any of the awful things in the movie that I saw because it felt to me, and besides the fact the Neville Dean and Taylor directing duel, I also can't stand because they did the freaking Crank movies, which I think are an atrocity to the human film world. Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna have to call it out the way I see it. I hate those fucking movies. Jason Statham couldn't save those damn movies. I think they're dumb, idiotic, and rather badly directed. And I could say that Ghost Rider is just more, little slightly better directed than those movies, but still, their aesthetic for filmmaking is something I really hate. It's like an assault on the senses, but in the most worst way. It's like I would rather take a film by Michael Bay and have him assault my senses than to have these two directors assault my senses with anything else. So I really fucking hated this movie, and I didn't go back and rewatch it until doing this show here because, like everyone knows, I don't mind taking a second chance to rewatch a film and see if my opinions have changed. Unfortunately, they have not changed at all. But I do want to talk about the film because there are elements of the film that we must talk about because it was the first film was extremely successful enough to have this film be made, and some of the elements that Neville Dean and Taylor thought people liked about the first film, they tried to replicate in this film. So it's good that we're kind of having a conversation about it because we should actually, even though I think it's a horrible movie, there are elements that we should talk about it. You know?
See, the frustrating thing about this movie is there are a couple of good elements in this movie. It is just the first, the biggest thing, Ghost Rider, I think was done generally well in the movie. And in some sense, I would argue better than the first movie. I like his design more in this. I think the aesthetics of like all the like the fact that like his jacket melts when he's on fire, like he's constantly on fire and stuff, I think looks good. Just the general CGI on the flames on all of it looks great. I love some of the added additions of his like he's a lot more unhinged this time around with like there's moments where he's kind of linking around. Uh there's a moment when he gets exploded and he kind of is like in the air, floating in the air and stuff. He's even more menacing in this because he is just this weird, uncanny, like unstoppable like creature and stuff. And I love that interpretation. I love those moments when you saw it. Again, the biggest scene in the movie, again, when he takes like anything he touches becomes like the motorcycle, becomes demonic and stuff. So obviously the scene where he takes over that giant land vehicle and stuff, amazing. Such a cool looking design. It was so fun to see that. Um, Even like some like the thing with the directors and stuff, I never saw Krang. I've not seen Krang to these days because just from the trailers, all that stuff just I was like you said, it's assault on the senses. I'm like, eh. But like one thing I would give credit to them for this movie is I think some of the action scenes actually look cool. Like the chase scenes, the scenes when near the end when Ghost Rider is fighting Blackout. Like I think some of those do genuinely look good. I think they are very engaging. The problem comes into the problem with these directors, which is they are action directors. Using Michael Bay is a great example of they're an action director. They're not a story. They don't give a crap about the story. And it's so obvious in this movie they don't care about story because the script is terrible. It is nonsensical and stupid. It makes no fucking sense.
Well, the thing is, it makes a little bit of sense. But the problem is with the script is so simplified. It is the same script that we've seen in a billion other movies. It essentially is Ghost Rider is being used to protect some other kid who may or may not be good, and there's someone after that kid. That has been used a billion times, but in this one, it's even more generic than
Yes,
before.
because you do not care. Hey, you should love this movie, Kevin. It's got Danny Ketch. Danny Ketch is the kid, which I didn't
That's not
even know.
Danny Ketch. That's not Danny Ketch. That's just a kid called Danny. Don't even try to lie. Don't even try to lie.
In the
No way.
credits. He's Danny Ketch.
Oh, I thought he was just Danny.
No, he's Danny Ketch. It's canonically he's supposed to be Danny Ketch.
Nah.
Uh, but
I
uh, but
Bills,
but
you motherfuckers, fuck that shit up. No, no, no.
but yeah, no, I mean the thing with the thing is, yes, it is a lot of stuff is very generic, and the problem is like we've seen a billion of those protect the kids stuff, and the problem with a lot of those is it only really matters if you care about the group. I think there's a lot of examples like Man on Fire, like examples where it's like you have the protect story
Hmm.
where you where you get involved because the chemistry of the two characters work. There was no chemistry in this. Danny is just a blanket character, has no personality, and the biggest thing too with this movie is Nicolas Cage is awful in this movie. I actually genuinely liked him in the first movie. I thought he was an okay Ghost Rider. Is he the best? No, but I thought he did an okay job. In this, he was horrible.
Yeah, he doesn't do it like the biggest problem with this film. One of the biggest problems. There's a lot of problems with this movies. The biggest problem in the film, for me, is that they transported the character from the United States to multiple European countries for the simple fact is that's where they shot the goddamn movie, so they had to make it make sense. But it doesn't make any sense. There is no reason for Ghost Rider to be in those other fucking countries, no matter how you want to make it. Oh, I have to find myself as Johnny Blaze, so I go out in the other countries to control my Ghost Rider, who's slowly. I'm losing control. And I'm like, dude, this is the dumbest fucking setup to say that you're cheap and you shot the movie in another country to get away with shooting a cheap movie. And it doesn't add anything. Like if you're shooting in these countries, you to shoot some shit that makes it look interesting of that country. Don't make it just seem like there's a bunch of dirt roads and shit. That's not interesting. Like the most interesting location this movie has is that construction site where Ghost Rider takes over the land vehicle. And that's not even the last act of the movie. That's before Blackout is even born. And I'm like, dude, this if you can't, yeah, like that is literally the only good sequence in this entire film because the design for Blackout is horrible. The guy who's playing him does a horrible job. It's like, oh my God, is this what you did with one of the best villains in the Danny Ketch run of good comic books? Is this mediocre, shitty ass version? Like, I'm like, my God, it's like it's my jaw dropped, and Idris Elba seems to be the only one who knows that this movie is a piece of shit, and so he's just kind of going with the flow and having a whole shit ton of fun with this movie. Like he literally looks like he's having fun in this movie, and no one else does. You,
Well, Idris Elba is also pretty bad at it too because
yeah,
he's supposed to be French, but man, his accent's all
yeah.
over the place. It is all over the place. It's like again, it's like honestly, you didn't even need to give him an accent.
Dude,
Like
if
it's
you
one of
want
those.
just make him British. He's British already. Just let him talk in his regular accent. He'll be fucking fine.
Yeah,
Like,
you're in Europe. Just make it have a British accent. Him trying to do a French accent, but not really, was just like it was so bad. Yeah, his accent was so bad. It went all over the place. Here's my thing with Blackout, and you may not fully agree with me on this.
yeah.
I was okay with his powers In concept, the idea of Decay, I'm like, okay, this could be a cool visual. Design wise, yes. Oh my gosh, his design is terrible. His design looks like he's freaking from Lord of the Rings or something. Like
Yes, yes.
his design was terrible, but the power, I was like, okay, this could be interesting. Except the way that they made, again, because they were the whole entire thing, they're trying to make it way too stylistic, was every time he has his decay scenes and stuff, it becomes this weird like music video like section and stuff, and it just looked so bad. Of like because there are like the moments when he's actually like making the humans decay, like when he kills Idris Elba, it looked cool. The effect of the person decaying looked cool, but it just looks terrible with this weird like evanescent like filter on it and stuff. Like I was like, again, it felt too. Again, it felt way too stylistic. It felt too. They're trying to be too stylistic and too dark, and that is the entire movie. Is how I would say about it.
I don't know. Stylistics is a very forgiving word because that sequence where the Ghost Rider for some reason is just rocking himself back and forth instead of fighting the bad guys is by far dumb a visual. Just like watching a piss fire is the like that's shit that doesn't need to be in this movie. Why the hell? Or when you said he was floating, when he's floating horizontally, I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to be exactly? That just seems to be the weirdest thing to happen here. Like, if that was your choice? Uh,
See, I don't mind that as much as when he does the penance stare, but he takes forever to do it, so he's just staring at the guy. Like that stuff. Although, honestly, what makes the only thing that redeems that for me is if you watch the behind the scenes, because Nicolas Cage this time around did all that stuff. So they put him in makeup and stuff. And if you watch behind the scenes of Nicolas Cage doing all that stuff, it's honestly just hilarious.
Yeah, well, and that's why, it's one of those things where I wish, really wish, I get the impression that these people did not bother to read the fucking comic book. They just, like you said, they're action directors who decided to make a film and just kind of put a bunch of action sequences with the Ghost Rider character and forget everything else.
Well, they were really pushing for a rated R, and then Sony was going to do that, and then Sony last second chance when, we're not going to do rated R, which I mean they did. This was a pretty hard PG-13 at times and stuff, but no, I mean the script. I mean, fun fact: Peter Fonda was wanting to come back to be Mephisto, but then read the script and said, "No, I'm not doing that." And same thing happened with Matt Long, who was young Johnny. Same deal. He looked at it and said, "Nah, I'm good."
Because it's pretty fucking bad. Like I know that Nicolas Cage loves his character just like he loves
Oh,
Superman.
Mendez was also another person who read the script and said, "I'm not coming back."
Oh, well, the thing would be that because they had a successful mediocre film, a really successful mediocre film, and I would have rather had the director for the first one who I didn't like either, and I didn't like his Daredevil, and I can't remember his fucking name to save my life, but at least he seemed to understand the material that he
Mark
wanted to.
Johnson.
Yeah, he at least he seemed like he understand the material that he was adapting. This These two did not seem like they knew what the hell they were doing. And so this is an odd film. Um and it's just an odd movie. Now you like to say there's some of the action sequences are good. I didn't care for any of them other than the construction site sequence. I thought that was really well done. But that's well done because your senses are overloaded with the machine that Ghost Rider has control over and the visuals associated with that. And when you're watching the Ghost Rider
It's
stuff,
also at night, so you don't. It's a little easier than a lot of the daytime scenes.
yeah. So like in the daytime scenes, when you see Ghost Rider is partially Johnny Blaze and partially Ghost Rider, the visual effects don't hold up at all. They're like, oh man, why is it that certain scenes can look amazing and then other scenes look bad. And it
Well,
it's
one thing
just,
that's crazy about this movie with this is the first Ghost Rider had one of my favorite scenes of when Nicolas Cage becomes Ghost Rider for the first time. And you see, it is a great, in
yeah.
my opinion, it's a great effect when he turns. In this movie, where the Ghost Rider design is even, in my opinion, better than the first one, and never once does he actually have a transformation scene like that. And this is the one where you would do it. But no, he never does a full like he's either one or the other. There's never a in like a mid transformation scene for whatever reason this time around. I don't know why they did it.
Hmm. You know what? I didn't realize that. You are absolutely right. That is a good point to make. Normally, you at least have one good transformation scene at the very beginning, especially when this film goes a long ways in trying to retcon some of the origin of Johnny Blaze from the first movie when he's explaining everything at the beginning of this movie. You don't see the Peter Fonda in there. You see Syrian Hines uh Roark. Fuck, I don't want know why they just don't care. Uh, call them by their real names. Roark, yeah. Which I thought he was an underused fucking actor. I'm like, dude, I don't even know why you're in this movie. You have a thankless role in this movie. Like you really do very little, and I usually really like him in other films, but this one, like I said, and I wanted to give the film another watch because I'd never seen it more than the one time until rewatching it for here. And so and because there has been distance between me and my hate for Neville Dean and Teller, I was like, okay, I can rewatch it now. I mean, when I first saw this movie, I think I'd seen both Crank movies not that long before or after, and I really fucking hate those movies. I was like, my God. I was like, how did this shit ever get made? And yet they were successful. And I was like, oh my God. Um
Which
so
is interesting because like this movie was a success, but it did not get a sequel. And this is the last time Neville Dean and Taylor did a movie
yeah,
together. They
yeah,
have done movies separately, but this is the last movie they did a together.
yeah, yeah. I mean, who knows? It's one of those things where uh when you're looking at these superhero movies, this one it didn't like the series. I don't know if they just didn't know what to do with the character or if Marvel. I don't know when Marvel or MCU or Disney got the rights back for Ghost Rider because I know Ghost Rider
They got it
show.
after this movie. Like
Oh,
after this movie happened and they decided not to do a sequel, then the rights went back to Marvel.
oh, okay.
This was the last non-MCU Ghost Rider.
Yeah. I know after that, the Ghost Rider was used. The different Ghost Rider was used in the show. What was the show?
It was Rami Reyes,
Yeah, but what was the show called? So everyone knows.
Agents of Shield,
Agents of Shield. Because I've not
which
seen that.
which I love. Like recent in the recent years, Robbie Reyes has become like the more prominent Ghost Rider, and I like that rendition, and I loved him in Agents of Shield and stuff. Um, but yeah, no, this is the last time we will ever see a non-MCU Ghost Rider.
Yeah. One day they'll bring it back somehow. Oh my God. But the thing is that I wonder what the ideal behind the sequel was when they didn't get back the original director from the last one because everyone knows that after the first film he was a popular character and they could actually make something that was on par to being as successful as maybe the X-Men were. But it almost seems like they downgraded themselves to make another movie real fast. Um,
Well, one thing that they did, and it does feel like that. I remember thinking that when I watched it, it felt very much, which is funny because this movie came out a lot earlier and stuff, but it felt very Da Vinci Code. And that's kind of what, like when I watched it the first time, I was like, this feels like the Da Vinci Code a lot. Like in its setting and stuff. And it's like, and yeah, that's what uh And the Da Vinci Code didn't come came out in 2006, and this movie came out in 2011. So I don't know if there's any inspiration there, but it definitely feels that way, at least to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, well, especially considering all the religious themes in the film. I mean, it literally starts off at a fucking church monastery. You know, and it eventually goes back to another sanctuary church monastery in the mountains. That actual location looks pretty good with Christopher Lambert as one of the monks. I actually forgot that he was in this film very briefly. Same with Anthony Head from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
Um,
which Christopher Lambert's design, like monk design, was also so silly, in my opinion.
it is, but it's stuff that I've seen in other movies with extreme nomad, and I don't think the word I want to use is nomadic, or it could be sedentary monks. They have that type of tattooing done to their face. I thought it was fine. I thought it set them apart from other types of monks that might be living in the mountains away from the rest of society, waiting for the apocalypse to happen. I was fine with that. And I like seeing Christopher Lambert. There's a highlight, but it's so brief. It's not even that, like kind of like watching Anthony Head, who's only in, like for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the very beginning, and then he gets shot in the head. And I keep wondering why the fuck did they hire him to just get him shot in the head in like the first 10 minutes of the movie? He's worth so much more than that. Uh, so and then of course they put in no name actors for pretty much the rest of the cast. I don't know Nadia. I was not familiar with her work, the actress who played Nadia.
Yeah,
Bronte,
she's
let's see.
mostly she's an Italian actress, and before then she was mostly in Italian movies, and she went back to doing Italian movies after the movie.
Oh, that's probably and I'm not gonna say nothing about Italian movies because I actually like Italian movies. Uh, so I guess I'll have to look her up for some of those other movies. I have not. I think I've only seen this and The American with her in it. So. But she seems to have been in a lot of movies, so I'm not gonna knock that. I just was not familiar with her in this film, and this film didn't do her any uh uh good graces because of what
I
she
mean,
deal
it
with.
doesn't do anyone. I don't think anyone, even like Idris Elba, like you said, where like, oh, it looks like he's having fun. No one came out of this looking good at all. I don't think a single between Nicolas Cage hamming it up so much harder this time around and stuff, where it was just like
Overbearing.
it was it was very overbearing and very it felt so much more scene chewing than he has. Like this like everyone makes fun of oh crazy Nicolas Cage. This is crazy Nicolas Cage that isn't fun.
Yes.
This is not fun Nicolas Cage freak out. And then yeah, and then no one looks good. No one looks good in this. No one came out as looking good. Again, Ghost Rider, the design is the one that came out of this the best, at least visually, until we get the piss fire and stuff. But again,
Dude, I can't get past that piss fire shit, dude.
the
I
only thing I'm glad about that is the fact that it wasn't actually a sequence and was just a imaginary sequence and not like a like. Although at the same time, honestly, that would have been kind of crazy funny if Ghost Rider literally just pisses on someone and they die from being on fire and stuff. They couldn't even do that. They just do it's such a weird sequence.
it's weird, and they played it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like I would have been happy if that would have been something I was not expecting. Like I was dreading that from the trailer. I was like, "Fuck!" I hope that that's something they actually end up leaving on the cutting floor. But they didn't leave it there, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what? Like at what point?" In the process of this film being made, did it not occur to you that you're wasting your money doing a CGI character pissing fire? That was like, at some point, they should have realized that is by far the dumbest thing that could have ever been shown on celluloid in a mainstream movie. And because they didn't realize that, there are certainly other elements in this film that are by far the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like the whole fact of the very opening sequence that you see uh Idris Elba crash his bike and he's flying through the air, yet shooting the tires off the car that's chasing after Nadia and Danny. And then we see in a later sequence that he's fallen in a tree and that's how he got saved. And like it's a comic aside, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the dumbest thing I could have. What? This is stupid as fuck. Like that, I could have gone without seeing a stupid aside like that in this movie. But that is exactly Neville Dean and Taylor's style. That is exactly what I would have expected having seen Crank 1 and 2. These stupid little sequences that, for me, make the film come off as completely and utterly ludicrously dumb. Like Crank, at least you know from the trailer going in, it's gonna be dumb. Like
The premise is dumb.
the premise is dumb. The movie is dumb. If you are watching this movie, you are either a Jason Statham fan like I was, which is why I saw it, or you know this is the dumbest piece of shit that you're going to be watching and you're going to go in for the ride. I've seen a lot of dumb movies in my time. Those two movies in particular are films I hope I never have to watch again. And I've watched a lot of Jason Statham movies. I like Jason Statham generally in most of the films he's done, even if he's playing the exact same character that he's played a billion times. I enjoy him, just like Liam Neeson. I enjoy watching him, you know. So, but there are certain movies like Crank 2, that one stupid single person POV movie that's god awful that I can't think of the title for anymore. You know which one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, I can't remember yeah, I can't remember the game. It got awful. The whole movie's the single person POV. I was like, dude, this is an atrocity to my senses. I will never watch this.
Hardcore Henry.
Huh?
Hardcore Henry.
There you go. God, I saw that at the theater too. I was like, oh my God, I'm assaulted. My brain just died on its own after watching this movie. That's how I felt about watching this movie at the theater. And I watched it in 3D, and I'm like, did I just get dumber watching this film? But I was hoping that by rewatching it, I was not going to feel like I was dumber. I'm still feeling like I'm dumber. Oh my God. I do hope. And don't get me wrong, I like the concept that Neville Dean and Taylor were given kind of like free range for a major motion picture featuring the sequel to a very popular film, to be able to do and craft their own story based on that and not have to be hampered down by what came before them. I am always for watching filmmakers come up with their own turn and twist on already established IP. It's always interesting. If I was a fan of their style, I guarantee you I probably would have loved this movie. If I was a fan of Crank 1 and 2, I guarantee you the fans out there of Crank 1 and 2 probably love this movie because it's exactly what they wanted from those directors, and it's exactly what they got from a superhero movie, which may never, ever be replicated. I do not think that in this day and age, with the way that MCU and the DCEU have changed the way the superheroes are made, that we will ever see something like this again. Unless it is a non-well-known IP. I don't think we're going to see this again. I think this was an interesting experiment that surprisingly made money, because I kind of thought the movie tanked, but you are right. Worldwide, it actually didn't do that bad. That was a shock to me when I had to look that up. I was like, really? But like, there's fans in this film out there. I would love to meet some, because that's the conversation I want to have. I want to figure out what exactly is the elements of this film that made you like this film.
I think a lot of it comes into, again, I think again, if you like the Crank movies, you would like this movie. And again, I think if you liked these like the Ghost Rider parts because again, the Ghost Rider parts are done well. Like I think the design's done well. A lot of the sequences are done well with him. I could see that being why someone would be like, "Oh, I love this movie because of that," and just not caring about the story and stuff, which is okay because the directors didn't care about the story either.
If with that, I kind of like I see that as like a curse of the Michael Bay because I kind of think that with 80% of Michael Bay's films, he doesn't care about story either.
No.
He just cares about blowing shit up and having big action sequences, which he's extremely good at. Don't get me wrong. Even with most of his really shitty movies, there are some amazing action sequences that he's crafted. He is a like a pro with crafting action sequences, and I still watch his movies because the action sequences are good. I know the movies are going to be dumb and stupid, but I've seen pretty much all of Michael Bay's films because I know they're going to be dumb and stupid, but the action sequences will be amazing. That's kind of like how I see people who enjoy this film. I like you got to know their style and what they're going for in order to enjoy this movie because for us horror fans, um the Ghost Rider elements are the best elements for us. Like you've already said it that they did a really good job with the Ghost Rider elements of the film. I don't always think that they did that with all the sequences. I think sometimes when they were trying too hard to mix the Johnny Blaze and Ghost Rider characters and sequences, they just come off as hokey and not as well executed. Um,
Oh yeah, again, Ghost Rider. When
yes,
yeah, when we have the sequence with like Nicolas Cage is riding and he's like half transforming stuff, that was hokey. That was
yeah.
completely hokey.
Yeah, you wonder why that is though, when the Ghost Rider sequences, which are all CGI, are so goddamn well done, yet those sequences come off as really, really hokey.
Again, I think it's Nicolas Cage. I think the first everyone forgets that he was generally toned down in the first movie. I think, and honestly, I think that's what it is. I think because in the first movie, Nicolas Cage was generally toned down and stuff until he Ghost Rider up, it meant something. But now Nicolas Cage is always cranked up. So when he's like cranking up to be Ghost Rider, it doesn't mean anything because we've already seen that. We've already seen him like we've already seen 100. He's always 100, so it doesn't matter anymore. There's a lot of things about going from 1 to 100, and it really does mean something when it's like, okay, you're not always 100, so it
Yeah.
means more when you're there.
No, that's a good point to make. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. Well, I haven't thought given much thought to the movie itself. Uh um but it's this is and we don't get a lot of these as horror fans. We don't get a lot of comic book based movies for us horror fans. I think we've generally exhausted a lot of them, sticking with like The Crow and Blade and is that in Hellboy are kind of like the go to ones that we've mentioned. Swamp Thing, we've mentioned that one on the program, but this is probably the most horrifying or horror related one because it's simply a ghost skull guy riding a motorcycle, but he's cool as shit. Uh, like you say, the most interesting aspect is Ghost Rider, and we love to watch them. And I always I want to ask someone who likes the movie is if all the other shit was cut out. It was this Ghost Rider. You'd probably still love this movie, wouldn't you? Because the human aspects of this film doesn't do anything for you. It's so bland and so plain and so predictable that the only thing keeping you interested is Ghost Rider. So,
Yeah.
um, but I do want to go back a little bit to we mentioned a little bit about the makeup for Blackout, and it's such a travesty to what they how they portrayed the character Blackout in the film. I've always loved the Blackout character in the comic book, so seeing the Blackout character here was a huge disappointment. I always liked the whole idea of being his plague powers. I thought was perfectly fine. I just think the design was a little lacking and didn't really make for a very menacing foe. I don't know about you, but I don't know if he made for a menacing foe for you or not.
No, he didn't because again, like, and this is the thing where the movie has randomness of hokey where he's like he's undead, but then you have a sequence where he's trying to eat, but oh, he can eat a Twinkie. Ha ha
Yeah.
ha.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you'd bring that up. I didn't want to bring the Twinkie thing up. I was like, you know, the first movie had some weird little things. I think it was jelly beans that Johnny Blaze liked in the first one, right? It was jelly
Yeah.
beans, right? And so those things look a little bit odd, but they are part of his character. In this film, it's just really just hokey and bad. The Twinkie sequence, I had forgotten it was in there until I rewatched it, and then I was like, my hand was over my head, and it was like, oh shit, that's right, that was in this movie. And I'm like, why?
You gotta have the sponsorships.
It's
Although it
like,
also doesn't make it's obviously making the jokes about how much preservatives Twinkies have, but
yeah,
also it doesn't make sense because it's like, well, even Twinkies eventually do degrade. Like they're not just immortal, but that's what they're trying to say that the Twinkies are
yeah.
somehow immortal.
That even in apocalypse, the Twinkie's gonna survive. You know,
They're saying like Twinkies never spoil or anything. It's like,
the
no.
Twinkies never spoil. I didn't want to bring that whole Twinkie thing up, but you did, so that's good. But those type of things, I was perfectly fine with them on a repeat viewing on the first film. When it came around to this film, I was like, oh my god, this is like horrible on my senses to watch shit like this. I was less forgiving with this film than I was with the first film, because the first film did age a little better on a subsequent rewatch than when I originally saw it. I mean, as much as I love the characters, these two films, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, are not two of my go-to films when it comes to comic book adaptations or even Marvel adaptations. They are at the very, very bottom. I would rather watch Daredevil than watch either of these movies. And everyone knows how much I don't like the Daredevil movies, but I'm perfectly fine because Colin Farrell did a good job, and and what's her face, Jennifer Garner. So I was perfectly fine with rewatching Daredevil, but these two movies, I know. Even if we are fans, Philip, even though we are fans, could you really say that you would like to go back and rewatch this film?
This film definitely not. The first film, there's certain sequences I would definitely want to watch. The most again I would ever watch in this film would be again when he takes the construction scene when he takes over the giant machine,
Yeah,
and that's about it.
yeah.
Um,
Don't get me wrong. That's a great scene. Um,
but I would go back to the first movie a lot sooner than I would come
yeah,
back to this movie.
yeah. I think I've seen the first film like 4 or 5 times. This one, this was the second time I've ever seen it. So, um, but I do want to talk about the end sequence, which I thought in this film was not nearly as grand or interesting as the very first film. The ending for this film seemed a lot like a lot lackluster than I was expecting. I thought they got rid of Rourke a little bit easier than they should have. Um, don't get me wrong, it was kind of cool seeing Ghost Rider just use his chains to take him, capture Rourke, throw him up in the air, and then send his ass back to hell. I actually don't mind that, but the whole visual effects of showing him burn up in hell, it kind of took me out of it again. I was like, God damn it! It couldn't be
Well,
better
well,
CGI.
the CGI doesn't look good, and it also doesn't fully make sense of like why he's burning up because he's the devil, so he should not have problems with that. It only would mean something is if when he's burning down there, you start to see his actual design, like his
Yeah,
actual devil design, I think would have redeemed that factor and stuff. But since it's not, it's just him just going like, no, it just does read weird. It also
go ahead.
it just the whole sequence reads weird, and even I mean even the whole thing of Danny giving Ghost Rider's powers back was just weird too. The whole sequence at the ceremony and stuff was just all just kind of weird.
Well, I'm trying to the ideal of the monks helping go Johnny Blaze to get rid of his curse, and then the Danny character coming back and giving it back to him because he's just like his father. But up until that point, he never used his powers at all. So
Yeah, there was no hints. Like there was hints of, or there was talks of, oh, you've got some, got some sane powers in you and stuff, but like Mephisto powers. But then it's just like, but yeah, it's just a random like. I guess it's one of those Deus Ex Machina of like, I suddenly have this power that I didn't know I had that just allows me to re-give you the powers of the Ghost Rider.
yeah, and then of course at the end of that, I kept wondering if by doing so, Danny is no longer like he doesn't have any power once he gives all of that power back to Johnny Blaze to become Ghost Rider again, as if does he still have any power whatsoever? Because after that point, he just acts like another little kid again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, is that how it's gonna roll for the end of this? He gave up all that power to one person and now he has none. Um, okay, I'll roll with it, people. It just doesn't make any sense, but I'll roll with it.
But
Um,
but then they don't put enough time for you to really know. You just have to guess. But now he has blue flames, and now Johnny Blaze can be out in the sun.
yeah, and I didn't think that really helped the character being out in the sun like that, the way they visualized them. I do like the concept of him being blue flames and being able to resurrect I think he resurrects Danny at the very end. I almost forgot who he resurrects. But he says some words about heaven and shit like that, and I was like, okay, when you say it, it sounds very drab and dull, Nicolas Cage. Can we get someone who actually can say this type of information right so it doesn't sound so hokey? And of course, you see the CGI blue hand, skeleton hand, rise up and touch him, Danny on there. I was like, oh, okay, we did do that. Okay. Um, so I think that's a really hokey thing, but they wanted to redeem the character some reason somehow, and I guess that's the best way they came up for it. I just don't think it was a very successful one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I again, it's one of those things of Danny's not gonna stay dead and stuff, so like you don't really care when it happens and stuff. Uh, and then yeah, it was just a meh sequence, and then again, it's like not you don't feel any attachment toward Danny, and then especially you don't feel any attachment between Danny and Nadia, like.
No, no, it's an odd scene early on when they're stealing and pickpocketing from people to survive. It was like, oh, okay, so we did this scene here, but because that plays nowhere else in the entire movie, nothing about pickpocketing or stealing or any of that in the entire other movie, but you stuck this scene in here, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. But if you've seen the Neville Dean Taylor film, most of the shit in the Crank movies don't make much sense to begin with, so you kind of just go with the flow. So that's what I chalk it up to. It's a shame that you haven't seen the two movies that I keep referencing, though. So,
Yeah.
um, is there anything else you could think about that we need to make sure we touch upon with this film, Philip?
No, I mean, again, this movie did a couple things. This was the last non-Marvel, non-MCU Ghost Rider, because now whenever we get Ghost Rider again, it's going to be done by the MCU. I think the Ghost Rider character should get a theatrical release and
Same
stuff, because I mean, I think this character has a lot to it and stuff, and especially nowadays, like it's crazy how much the Ghost Rider character just keeps not getting any focus right now with everything involved. It's like they're trying to reboot Blade, but they're not trying to reboot Ghost Rider when the Ghost Rider movies have generally been successful.
Yeah.
Uh, Such a weird thing to me. And then obviously again, this is the last time we've seen the Neville Dean and Taylor did grouped together and stuff, which I know at least for you, Kevin, you are more than happy with. Which honestly for me, seeing their filmography, like they're together, I'm like, that's fine. I'm also fine with them not seeing that together and stuff. They haven't had the best like separate track record too, because Brian Taylor did the last Hellboy movie that went straight to DVD that was apparently god awful.
Oh, Crooked Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, which is crazy because that is based on some of the best fucking early Hellboy stories, and I have yet to see that. That's how much I haven't. I was turned off by the previous version of Hellboy. It's like I haven't seen the new one, and Hellboy is one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Well, the
Um,
problem too is like they just, I mean, that was one of those like you talk about in and out, like they barely gave it a theatrical release. It was so weird, but based on what I've heard too, it's not that good, and the budget was like abysmal too for it, which is funny because relating this back to Ghost Rider itself, Spirit of Vengeance was had a smaller budget than the first one, which is crazy when you look at the effects.
really?
Yeah, no, it had half the budget of the first movie.
Oh, why? That seems crazy to me.
It is because like the effects look better in Spirit of Vengeance mostly, and so that's kind of crazy to know they did it in less. Uh, it always goes into the thing too. It always goes in the conversation of like budget, like movie budgets, and how much is inflated through actors or whatever, and how much it's all that. So
Well, Peter Fonda, Ava Longoria, Eva. No, who was in it? Was it
Eva Mendes.
Eva? Yeah, like, when I said that, I was like, wait, that's not right. That's the wrong actress. Eva Mendes. The guy I generally like, who is Johnny Blaze's best friend. I can't remember his name. Shit. I really
Wes Bentley? No, Wes Bentley is the
Yeah, but Wes Bentley's another good actor in there. But no, the other guy. Oh my God, he's in Gotham. I can't. Donald Loge.
Donald,
Oh,
yeah.
I fucking love him. I do. And when I rewatched the movie, I kind of okay, I was like, he's in there. So it like when we did the show on Blade, when we did the episode on Blade, I was like, fuck, I forgot he was in this movie. He's still so good. I was like, I generally love that guy. That guy is so great in so many movies. Um, but this movie doesn't have that. I mean, the closer you get is Idris Elba, who, as I've said, I think is the only one who looks like he's having fun. But but we've already said that that's like not comfort enough for the movie in general.
Yeah, and that too, that was like didn't even know Idris Elba hadn't really hit his like film stride at that point. Like he was starting like he had movies before then, but like he it was still around like it was weird because Thor also was that year. He was in process of hitting his stride.
So I have liked Idris Elba for a while, and I honestly do not remember what movie is the one that piqued my interest in him. I do know that his Luther show made me a forever fan of his. That is by far the like I tell everybody, dude, they need to let him do a theatrical movie of his character, Luther, as like a James Bond version, and not, and you'd have the perfect movie that would make a ton of money with him because he's fucking amazing and he's got great comic timing. He just was saddled with a lot of shitty comic book movies before hitting it big with Thor, because he was also in Losers. He was also in that, and I think there was another one he was in that was I didn't like as well. And of course, he gets saddled with shit like The Dark Tower, which is not highly remembered or talked about.
Yeah.
But he's done so many great movies before all of that. Um, because he was a working actor. The guy showed up in a shit ton of stuff before making it big, dude. Tons of stuff. But Luther was my big film that I show I loved him in. But he was in 28 Weeks Later. I thought he did a great job in 28 Weeks Later. In The Reaping, I remember him from The Reaping. Um, those probably came out around the same year. And then of course, Losers, which I did not like.
He was in Obsessed too. I remember. I think that's technically like the first movie I saw him in.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, I saw him because I watch every horror film, which is why I could say I saw him in The Reaping and 28 Weeks Later and in Prom Night remake. So he was in a lot of movies that I saw around that time. And then at some point, he did the Luther thing, and I was like, oh shit, this is the greatest fucking show ever. I love that show. My eyes were glued to that show, and even the movie, the recent movie. I'm like, when are we getting another fucking Luther movie? You know, Idris Elba, I can generally watch in anything he's in. I think he's a great actor. And so when I rewatched this movie, I gave it a little bit more leeway because he was in it and I thought that he was having fun. I may be completely talking on my ass when I'm saying that. He could probably think that he was having the worst day of his life. But for me, he just came off as seeing like, oh man, he's having some fun doing this movie. Shit. So.
Yep, he was having fun not keeping his accent up.
No, yeah, but that happens to a lot of actors when they do that shit, which is why I wonder why actors bother to do that when so many of them can't keep them up while producing a movie. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that we need to discuss in
Nope.
regards to Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance?
Nope.
Well, I want to thank you, Philip, for having this conversation with me on regards to this one. We have now completed our uh, Ghost Rider duology, and maybe we'll have you back on to talk about Hellboy sequels or the Crow sequels or anything else out there that we have still yet to come. So for everyone listening, what we love to do is we love to rate the movies between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. What we like to do is we like to attribute our rating to a particular object, quote, or saying. What is your rating, Philip, for this film, and what object, quote, or saying would you like to attribute to your rating?
I give Spirit of Vengeance 1.5 fire pissing out of 5.
All right, that's a good one. I have to admit, that's a good one. We got a very similar rating. Um, I won't give it a 1. There are other worse films out there that I would give
That's
a.
why I gave it 1.5.
Yeah, that's why I said I was gonna give it a 1.5, 1.52, as well. Not two is in T double O, but T O is in TOO. I'm gonna give it 1.5. Um, oh God, I don't even know what I'm gonna say anymore. 1.5, God, this is a hard one, dude. I'll give it 1.5, Ghost Rider modified construction vehicles rampaging to the city, since that's the very best individual sequence in the entire movie, which comes halfway through the movie, which is just crazy that it doesn't get better than that one sequence in the movie. So with that, I hope you all have had a fun time listening to us deconstruct Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. I hope that you also will seek out our other conversation on the original Ghost Rider, but we've also done many different other horror themed superhero and comic book movies like The Crow and Blade and Hellboy. Please check those out. If you are a fan of those type of movies, you will love those episodes that we've done in those films. Make sure to like, follow, share, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast, your favorite podcast app, Spotify or YouTube. And please make sure to check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which is released on the first and third Friday of every month. that covers Hammer Studio films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And if you are a classic horror film lover, you will love that podcast. From all of us here, have a pleasant day, and we will see you on the road to vengeance. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production. Written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.